Hey there, I'm Jacqueline Stats, and today we're going to be speaking about Ayurveda and the emotions, and also one of my favorite subjects, which is happiness for no reason at all. In Ayurveda, we recognize that emotional well being is one of the fundamental pillars of health, and it's just as important as nutrition, sleep, meditation, or exercise. In Ayurveda, we work to live in harmony with our biological rhythms. And as we've been exploring already, Ayurveda offers a very valuable approach to emotional and physical health, and that is a holistic perspective that recognizes that the two are in fact inseparable. Now, the Ayurvedic physicians of 5,000 plus years ago knew something that modern science, modern medicine of the last 1 to 200 years is now proving. And that is that the mind, including our thoughts, emotions, and desires, is inextricably connected to our body. At the very deepest level, they are one indistinguishable unit, and that unit is a river of intelligence that is shaped by our choices, by our experiences, by our reactions and beliefs, and more importantly, how we process them. I don't need to tell you that our body mind is very deeply affected by our emotions. All you have to do is have an emotion to recognize that. So let's make this a little more practical. We know that when we eat food, that food needs to be digested. We also know that if that digestion is off, we then experience some discomfort or some health issues. What nobody really thinks about is that every one of our sensory experiences also needs to be metabolized and digested, and that includes our emotional input. Our digestion of these experiences is just like that of food. We want to process the information, we want to metabolize what we need, we want to use that information to help us function optimally in this world, and then we want to expel out the junk we don't need, like it's Taco Bell at 3 in the morning. We know our body knows how to get rid of that. Unfortunately, our minds just love to cling to that junk food. So let's talk a little bit about happiness with the emotions now and object referral. When we grow up, we're taught to seek happiness and fulfillment and approval from external sources. When we take our first steps, the crowd goes wild. We get a gold star in school. We come home, we get a reward of ice cream or something. So you can see that from very, very early on, we start to identify happiness with things like accomplishments or positions, titles, possessions. This is what's known as happiness for a reason. I can say to you that I'm happy because I have the most wonderful friends and family. I'm happy because I'm receiving an outstanding education. I'm happy because I live in a little slice of paradise. And all of these things are great reasons to be happy. They're things I've worked for, they're things I've accomplished. However, I have to keep in mind that these aren't true happiness, that these are fleeting experiences that are happening in the here and now, and anything can happen. They could disappear at any moment. So when we find our identity and our happiness in our relationships, in our work, in our accomplishments and possessions, this is known as object referral. This means that we identify with objects outside of ourselves, and by their very nature, these objects are always changing in our experience. So as long as we tie our identity to them, we're never going to know true happiness or our true unlimited self. We can feel happy when things go our way, or we get a hot new car, we're on a great vacation, but we're always going to feel this underlying current of instability or insecurity because part of us knows that the source of our good feelings can disappear at any moment. So now let's talk about the opposite of object referral, and that is self-referral, which means that we identify with our inner self, which is the unchanging essence of our soul. Self-referral is an internal state of well-being that does not depend on external circumstances. This is true joy. This is an internal state of awareness that allows us to be happy for no reason at all. It's completely independent of the circumstances in our lives, of events, of people, of things that are happening around us. This happiness comes from the realization that our true self is not our body. It's not our thoughts. It's not our emotions. It's not even this personality we've contrived. It has nothing to do with the possessions we've accumulated or any other thing that's bound to this time bound matrix. Our true self is pure, unbounded consciousness, and it is the field of all possibilities. And some of the attributes of this field include happiness, love, timelessness, compassion. I'm still working on that one. Creativity. When we live in this field, we live in wisdom, we live in silence, and we live in grace. With the practices of Ayurveda, which include meditation and yoga, we open up the experience to this field of consciousness and to this happiness that already exists inside of us. It's almost like we are excavating out all these layers of junk that have been burying it for so long. When we reconnect to this source of happiness, it can help us to lighten the load of those past traumas and the negative emotional experiences that we just love to carry around with us. What if we can bring a new and different perspective to that past experience that now allows us to integrate, to heal from it, and to thrive? In essence, we finally digest that experience. Maybe we'll digest that gum we swallowed in the 3rd grade with it. Who knows? So let's touch briefly on the doshas in Ayurveda. As you may know, there are 3 main doshas or composition types of people, and it's all based on elements. And while we may be higher or lower in some of these doshas, we all do have them all within us. And each of these doshic types can experience the emotions on very different levels. And they have a tendency to have particular emotional responses when their needs are not being met. So see if this resonates with you. Vata types. Vata types are made up of space and air, and they have a propensity to react to their unmet needs with feelings of anxiety and fear and worry and guilt. These are the folks that spiral perpetually, blaming themselves for everything. What did they do wrong in the situation? Pitta types. Pitta are the opposite. I'm a Pitta. Pitta are fire and water. And Pitta types will tend to feel angry or hostile when their fundamental needs aren't being met. They can easily become sarcastic or aggressive, maybe threatening. They are prone to blame others rather than themselves, and they're the type that wants to seek revenge or get even. And then there's Kapha types. Kapha are earth and water. And kaphas are likely to become very sad or discouraged in the face of unmet needs. They'll become stubborn or moody. They'll be indifferent. Their tendency is to ignore the situation or withdraw within and hide. So while we all have these within us, and some of us in higher levels in areas than others, we're not destined to react to our unmet needs according to our doshic propensities. This is the balance of Ayurveda. As we become more aware and more skilled at getting our needs met and keeping our doshas in balance, we learn to respond to challenging situations with greater grace and calm rather than reacting in counterproductive ways. And after we react, it's the processing of that experience. Are we going to hold on to something that makes us a drag at every party as we share it with everybody we know, or do we process it? Do we embody it and then move on from that situation as we've integrated the experience and using it to become better? So that's just a brief overview of Ayurveda and the emotions and happiness. I hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed having you here with me today. Namaste.